right, welcome to today's episode of Tomorrow's Leader, where we dive deep on all things leader related to leading yourself and leading others. I'm John Laurito, your host. Hope you're enjoying a great January. We're off to 2022 already, and if you're like me, you're excited to be in the new year. Hopefully your year is off to a great start. So speaking of New Year's, I know everybody goes into 2022 with huge plans, personally, professionally. I've talked in the last couple episodes about New Year's resolutions and all that. I want to talk about a leadership concept. It's really a life concept, but the leadership concept around what you do lining up with the things that you say. And I bring this up because I see this so often with people. There's people that I know, in fact, thinking of somebody where I know this person's intention is great, but I also know that when they say they're going to do something, it's just right away in my head, I say, nope, they're not going to do that. When they say they're going to commit to something and they are absolutely going to do this, whatever it is, I know it's not going to happen. And I know that because that individual says that they're going to do something all the time and they just don't. So I know that I'm not going to expect anything different. That's okay. And I'm not here to judge or anything like that. I want people to understand as a leader what this really does and what messages it sends and how important it is. Because as a leader, you can have 9 out of 10 things that are rocking and rolling. But if that's one gap that you have in your leadership, that you don't act, that your actions don't line up with what you say, ultimately, it's really difficult for you to have extremely high levels of success. You're just not going to build that level of trust and respect and credibility and influence that you need to have a huge impact as a leader. And I'll give you a couple examples. I mean, you see this with companies all the time. I cannot tell you how many times I see this with companies where they talk about something that they do or deliver or a core value, and then you see actions that totally don't line up with what they're putting down on their website or speaking about. And a lot of times, fact of the matter is, companies create these websites or these, values or guiding principles, usually in a boardroom with a bunch of people, and they put things up on a whiteboard that look good, they sound good, they resonate, but they're really not what they're all about. They're really not committed to those actions. I'll give you an example. It's kind of a funny one here. It was back, I think it was 2013, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Listen, this is not a knock on KFC. You change your name to KFC. We know what that stands for. I know what KFC stands for. It doesn't suddenly mean you're not, that you're healthier because you're not using the word fried chicken. But their mission statement is to sell food in a fast, friendly environment that appeals to price-conscious, health-minded consumers. Health-minded consumers. What? Wait a sec. Is this Kentucky Fried Chicken? Is this the same place I'm thinking about that sells the extra crispy, incredibly fattening but super tasty food? I mean, listen, I'm not judging. It's like an ice cream place. I'm not going there to eat health food. I'm going there to have fun and enjoy some great ice cream. When I go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, I'm not going there to be healthy. So, be who you're going to be. Now, I know a lot of fast food restaurants that have changed their menu around, and I do know KFC recently has added some different stuff. But this was back a number of years ago. What's interesting is when this came out, a matter of, I don't know what it was, a relatively short period of time after that, they came out with something. Now, you're going to have to Google this to see this, and maybe my producers can put this up on the video if you're watching this. It is called the Double Down. Now, let me describe the Double Down to you. Double Down, we took the bread, we took the bun off of our sandwiches, off of our burgers, and replaced it with 2 double deep fried pieces of fried chicken. Double deep fried pieces of fried chicken. Double deep fried chicken. That's the buns. Literally, 2 deep fried. I'm looking at the picture. I'm like, wow, 2 deep fried pieces of chicken. That's the bun. Now, inside this bun is like this massive slab of bacon and cheese and some unidentifiable sauce. Now, I gotta say, I don't know, for any of you out there, shoot me a note if you've tried this. I would actually like to try it, but this would not be part of my healthy eating regime. This would not be part of my diet. Now, contrary to Kentucky Fried Chicken, their mission is to sell food in a fast, friendly environment that appeals to price-conscious, health-minded consumers. And then they introduce the double down? Really? 2 deep-fried pieces of chicken as the bun. 2 days of sodium in 1 sandwich. Good. Oh, yeah. Now that's a sandwich. But that's not healthy. Come on. You're not fooling anybody here. So I go through this as an example. Like, there's so many companies that do this. There's so many leaders that do this. I hear and see and observe this. I have my whole career where somebody's actions just don't line up with what they are saying. If I'm part of KFC, and listen, if I'm in an annual meeting, they're talking about, hey, here's our mission, health-minded individuals. Okay, great. What are we going to do about that? Let's start to see some things on the menu that actually line up with that. If I then start to see this stuff, I'm like, well, what? I don't get it. What? So this, as a CEO, as a leader of your organization, you have to be super conscious. It's not just talking about stuff. It is what you're actually doing. In fact, it's 80 to 90% what you're doing, 10 to 20% what you're talking about. In reality, you know, I got a mattress, went to a place to get mattress, a store, and I needed to get 2 mattresses. And they had some kind of deal where if you spent more than, I don't know what it was, I forget, you know, $500, your delivery fee was free. And I ended up picking out these 2 mattresses. It was well over $500. And I go to cash out and they said, listen, we can't deliver this 1 mattress to you. One of the mattresses, if you really want it, and I needed it in a certain time frame because I had people coming in from out of town. I just needed it within a quick time frame. They said, if you want it, we can't deliver it to you. We're just, you can pick it up. You can rent the U-Haul and pick it up or whatever. I'm like, really? And it was their issue. They couldn't deliver because of some kind of, problem on their end. I'm like, geez, I was just in a bind and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time going to a bunch of different stores. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess, yeah, okay, I'll pick it up at the warehouse. I'll rent the U-Haul. I mean, super big inconvenience. I go to check out and the guy charges me for delivery. I'm like, you just said if I spend more than $500 that there's no delivery charge. He said, well, it's $500 of deliverable items. You now are only spending $400 on this 1 mattress. And this was a number of years ago, $400 on this 1 mattress. And then the other one is not deliverable. That doesn't factor into the $500. I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, that's your problem. It's not delivered. I'm going out of my way. It's my inconvenience because of your problem. I've got to go pick it up. And now you're going to charge me delivery because it doesn't exceed the $500. He said, yeah, I'm sorry. That's our policy. I'm like, are you kidding me? Is this a joke? Honestly, you got to be kidding me for real. He said, no, I'm that's the policy. I said, what? I don't get it. And I just went back and forth with this guy, totally scratching my head. I'm thinking, wait, this has got to be a joke. You can't be making this decision. And he ended up sticking to his decision. And I remember looking on the wall and I see like the values of the organizations. And one of the values was service. Like literally, that was one, client service, customer service, something like that was one of their core values. And I even asked the guy, I said, is that literally your core values? That's part of your core values, yet you are making a decision, the decision that you're making, which is so out of alignment with good customer service. Your problem has not only become my problem, but you've doubled it. You've doubled my problem. You're making me pick it up and you're charging me delivery fee on the other mattress. I don't get it. Bottom line is a lot of times leaders and companies don't get this. People watch, they don't care really what you're saying. It's all about what you're doing. Do your actions line up? I also know people and leaders that, listen, if they say they're going to do something, I know they're going to do it. There's no question about it. And I respect those people immensely. What it makes me understand is they're not going to say something that they know they're not committed to doing. And they're not just quick to say, okay, here's what we're going to do to fix this. They're thoughtful. They kind of pause. And you can almost envision them thinking, okay, before we commit to this, or before I say this, or before I set this expectation, am I or are we in a position to truly do it and deliver on it? because you can't put it out there. It's a nice, pretty thing to say, but unless you're willing to do the work to do it, it's meaningless. But it's not just that. It's everything else that follows. So when Kentucky Fried Chicken then says the next thing, hey, here's what we're going to do, it's taken with a little bit of a grain of salt, right? It just has a little less meaning to it. That person that says all the time, hey, I'm gonna start my gym regimen on Monday, and then they don't. Then they say it, a month later, I'm starting my workouts on Monday, and then they don't. And they say it a month later, and then they don't. It just has less and less meaning. And again, I don't judge. It's just and if it's an individual, if you're leading your own life, it's one thing. But if you're influencing and trying to influence an organization, believe me, people are watching what you do. They're not listening as much. They're watching to see what you do, and do your actions line up with what you're saying. So just a quick, message for leaders out there. Be conscious of this. It's so important to your effectiveness and your level of influence, respect, your level of impact in an organization. It is so key. And sometimes just doing a self-check to say, hey, you know what? What are the things that I have said? What do I stand for? What do I talk about a lot? Are there inconsistencies with what I'm saying and actually what I'm doing? And that's also where sometimes having somebody, either a coach or somebody who's really willing to give you honest feedback based on seeing you in action, that's where that can be helpful, because sometimes you don't even realize that you're doing that. But certainly as the leader of a company or an organization, it's your responsibility to be aware of it. One way or the other, you have to understand the importance of your actions lining up with what you're talking about. So I hope this was helpful. If you try the double down sandwich, I want to know about it. Seriously, this is a beast of a sandwich. And someday I will try it. So no offense, KFC. But in any event, hope this was helpful. As always, like, share, subscribe, go down below, give 5-star reviews. Your comments are greatly appreciated, as are your ideas for future topics and guests. Thanks for joining today. We'll see you next time. Bye.